Hi, I'm Sally Thiebaud, and welcome to the Stronger, Lighter Show. And today we're talking about the 5 steps to eating consciously to help you stay stronger, leaner, and lighter. Can't wait to share this with you. Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to 2021. I'm thrilled actually to be on this platform, Mums in Business Australia. And a big shout out to Mel Groom for asking me to be on it. I'm absolutely thrilled to be sharing all the information that I can with you today. We're going to make this about 20 minutes long. Big shout out to the sponsors of the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter show, NAS Cosmetics. That's their website there. You can see there. Can I just say, I just love this brand of cosmetics, and especially if you want to really decrease the amount of toxic chemicals and things that are not really good for your skin, especially as we age. NAS Cosmetics are a wonderful all-natural brand of cosmetics that give you great coverage and stay on as wonderful ways. So we're going to get started on today's show. I'm going to be sharing with you one of the principles that I teach in the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter method, and that is the principle of conscious eating. Now, all of a sudden in 2021, it started actually in 2020. Being very mindful now of the choices you make about the food you eat has become very important. Now, for many years, I taught the concept of intuitive eating. And now I think we need to expand on that. Why? Because of the challenges we're facing globally. Now, I want to share with you, before we just get started, some research before we move on and why I'm really passionate about this. Just let me get this slide up. One of the things that's coming about currently is that it is essential that you are responsible for your own health. And we talk about being sovereign. That's what's important at the moment, that you're sovereign, that you place your health as an absolute priority. And you know, of everything that's going on in the world right now, what you can do is make those choices that are going to benefit your health and well-being and increase your immunity. Now, before I go on, and I want to share something with you. A number of months ago, I did a video series, a 10-step video series on decreasing visceral fat in the body. People commonly refer to as belly fat. Now, I found for many people that I work with, that's one area they find particularly difficult. Now, the issue isn't what we call subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat's when, you know, enjoyed Christmas a little bit too much or, you know, you've had a few times when, you know, you just haven't been working out and perhaps you've had a few celebrations, you've piled on a few kilos. That's okay. That's subcutaneous fat. That doesn't make any difference. In fact, there has been some studies to show that a little bit of extra subcutaneous fat on your body is actually good for you. But what we really need to be focused on is what we call visceral fat. Now, visceral fat is the fat that wraps itself around the organs in the body and has been linked to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and some cancers. Now, I wanted to share with you this research that's just been published, and I will put it on here where the link has come from as well, which shows that people who have higher rates of visceral fat are also at higher COVID risks. And in particular, the increase has shown that there is 127 times more likelihood that they'd end up in ICU. And what's really interesting about this is some of the things you're not seeing on mainstream media. Let me I'll just pop up my where I got the information from. Hold on a sec, where am I? Yes, Dr. Tina, who I follow on Instagram. She posted this just recently. Now, the difference between the visceral fat is that it impacts on your immunity, as I mentioned before. And let me just move to the other slide. And this is the stuff that tends to sit around the belly. Okay, so, and you can measure this at home. It's difficult to measure if you have visceral fat, but this is the way you can measure it at home. Usually it's MRI, that's how you find it. But by these methods, by a tape measure, that's American, 35 inches. I don't know what that is in, centimeters, but you can figure it out. Just turn the tape measure the other way. So you figure it out. And just measure, because if you're carrying that visceral fat, you are more likely to suffer implications from this. So that's just a little bit of information for you. And now I want to just get rid of that. How do I get rid of that? I just want to get rid of that. Why is that not going off? Oh, this way. I will do this way. Okay, there we go. I'm off. Now, what I want to do now is I want to share with you some of the steps to focus on to ensure that you are of optimum health and you are releasing this visceral fat. How does visceral fat come about? 4 ways. Number 1, poor diet. Number 2, lack of exercise. Number 3, and the big one that I think we should all be really focused on right now, and that is lowering our stress levels. So high levels of cortisol. When the cortisol levels are high, and of course cortisol is your fight, flight, and freeze response when you're highly stressed. When you don't do something to release that stress, the body lays that down as fat, because you might need that energy later on to run, fight, flight, or freeze, right? So the body, it's just a natural thing that happens. So it's essential that when you're doing that, is that you are lowering your stress. And that is part of what Eating Consciously is all about. And the work that I do is really about helping people release stress. When somebody comes and sees me and they want to release the weight that no longer serves them, the very first thing I do is focus on where their stress levels are at. And we work on that exclusively. So it's poor diet, lack of exercise, high stress, and poor sleep. So there are the 4 main indicators for increasing visceral fat. So today, for the purpose of today's show, I'm going to share with you the number 1 principle, and that there's a 10 principles to the stronger, leaner, lighter way of living. And the first one is eat consciously. I'm going to go through these steps one at a time. So step number 1, when you are practicing conscious eating, is being intentional. It's no good just deciding you want to be wishy-washy about the food you're going to eat unless you have a reason. And that's the step 1, is to make a decision. Why do you want to eat better, make better choices? What's your reason for doing that? Now, it could be you want more energy. It could be you want to increase your immunity. It could be that you want to focus on longevity. It could be that you want to release weight. It could be that you have issues with allergies. When you make a decision about what you want, the brain goes searching for ways to make it happen. It's called frequency of illusion. It's like whenever, if you decide you want a certain car, and all of a sudden you see that car everywhere, that's called frequency of illusion. So the same thing when it comes to making a decision about eating consciously. Make the choice, okay, why do you want to do this? Critically important. Why do you want to do this? What benefit is it to you to make this decision? Now, for me, for instance, at the moment, my word for the year is impact. And so part of that is I'm looking at anything that impacts on my health and well-being, and also longevity. At the time of my life, I'm looking, okay, I want to be fit and healthy for the rest of my life. The next one is to create a vision. So what does this look like? What does this look like if I want to have more energy? Why? Why do you want to have more energy? What benefit will it make to you? What's the vision you want to create? For instance, if you have more energy, how is that going to impact on time of kids or your partner? Or what could you achieve if you have more energy? So you want to create a vision around it. So make a decision, number 1, about what you want, and then create the vision. What's that going to look like for you? And then number 3 is making a commitment to action. Nothing happens until you commit. So that's the first step. in the conscious eating? Let me know in the comments if any of this is resonating with you or have any questions. Step 2 is what I call intuitive. Now, this is what I've taught for many, many years. I began the process of intuitive eating way back in the 80s when I was a yo-yo dieter and used to teach 4 aerobic classes a day and live on rice cakes and cottage cheese and skinless chicken breasts. Oh my God. When I think about it, oh my God. In those days, of course, we did classes with G-string leotards. I mean, oh, please, and I was in front of the mirror all the time, right? So it was, and I remember at the gym, it was very much about, we had this competition about what you ate, that it was low fat in those days. Any wonder we're all trying to heal from that right now. But then I started to, one day decided I wanted, it's a big long story, I'll do another show on it, but a big long story when I wanted to stop, I wanted to stop being a dieter. I wanted to stop having food rule my life. And so I began this process for what I call intuitive eating. And intuitive eating starts with 4 aspects. Where you allow yourself to eat anything you want. I now allow myself to eat anything I want. Now, there's 2 words in there that are critical. One is allow. I now allow myself to eat anything I want, not need, want. Now, for many women I work with, those 2 words are trigger words. What do you mean allow? What do you mean I'm allowed to make a decision? And if you've been somebody who's been particularly focused on certain diets or ways of eating or eating good food versus bad food or superfoods or clean or whatever it is at the moment, whatever's the flavor of the month at the moment, to give yourself permission to eat anything you want can be very, very challenging. There's a lot of issues that often come up about allowing yourself to make choices. And then the last word is the word want, not need, want. And again, for many of us, what do you mean I can have or allow myself to have anything I want? Now, for many of us, that brings up things like, am I being selfish? Who do I think I am? What about other people? So there's a lot of connotations around the word want. And especially when it comes to food, it can be very challenging. So that's the first step. Step in this is ask your body. What does my body want? What does my body need? I'm moving the decision out of my head and I'm moving it into my body. In my experience, working in this area for decades, is that most of us, those who have been focused on weight and diet and eating all those times, listen to our head, not our body, because we have so many rules. We have so many rules that we should be following. But when you learn to listen to your body, not your head, and you remove all that information, that judgment from your mind, it's extraordinary what the body will tell you. Our body is amazing. It gives us all the knowledge we need, and we'll often put them aside and don't listen. Asking, what does my body want, not my head? Because often that head judgment is eating for stress or overwhelm or anxiety or fed upness or whatever it is. The third aspect is affirming that. So whatever the choice is that your body makes, it's like, I affirm this choice. So allow, ask, affirm, and then acknowledge. How does this food make me feel? And we're going to move on to that again in a minute. But how does the food make you feel? Is how I discovered that I'm not really good with gluten, or I'm not really good with dairy. When I began to listen to my body instead of thinking, oh, well, I'm eating whole wheat bread, that's got to be good for me, right? No, it wasn't. And when I learned to listen to my body, not follow any other dogma, just I listened to my body, and especially when it came to dairy, that was so sad. I love my cheese, but I didn't like what it did to my body, increased the inflammation. When you acknowledge how food makes you feel, it means you have a decision at that point to say, well, do I want to feel like that? When I eat dairy, I feel gluggy and yucky and inflamed. Do I want to feel like that? No, I don't. That's simply the decision. I'm not denying myself. I don't want to feel like that because I'm allowing, asking, affirming those choices. So that's the first one. Next one we move, the second one actually. Next one we move to informed. So we've gone from intentional, intuitive, and now informed. So the informed eating is, again, 3 steps: knowledge, nutrition, and non-judgment. Knowledge, to have some idea about nutrition. You know, research nutrition, listen to podcasts about nutrition, talk to people, those experts in the field, make some choices based on knowledge. Read the back of the labels, the packets. I heard a really disturbing story yesterday about Kellogg's. The reason Kellogg created cornflakes, believe it or not, his idea was that it reduced testosterone in men and they wouldn't want to be so sexual. Go figure. But that packet around and looking, what's in this that I'm about to put in my body? And if there's things you can't pronounce, I wouldn't be putting them in my body. Anything with a number behind it. Caramel is one of them that have real impact on kids in particular. Anything for me, 621, MSG, any of those, ditch it. But make informed decisions about the food you're going to eat and understand a little about nutrition. So secondly is nutrition. You know, how do you nourish your body? What are the best foods that I can put in my body to absolutely nourish it? You got one body. That's it. This one runs out. There's no more. Well, in this lifetime. But there's no going back. And the beautiful thing about the body is that when you put good nutrition in it, it responds really well. It loves good nutrition. Your body just responds. Things work better. And thirdly is non-judgment. And the non-judgment is to not judge yourself for the choices you make. When you begin this process, it's important that you're not judging yourself, that you're releasing that judgment about you and the choices and the things you've done in the past. Essential that you release all that. You know, as Dr. Maya Angelou says, you know, when we know better, we do better. So you kind of draw a line in the sand and say, well, I'm going to make different choices from now on in, and I'm not going to judge myself for those choices I made yesterday because I was really pissed off with somebody. And that muffin looked really good. That was just, don't worry about it. Move on. Which brings me to the next one, step number 4. We've got one more to go after this. And that's about being introspective. Now, introspection is so important on this conscious eating journey. And that is looking at past stories, present actions, and what I call future thinking. I've heard a lot of times when I'm working with clients, they'll say things like, I'll always be like this. I've struggled all my life and I always make these choices. That's future thinking. Not always, you don't know that. Any point in time you can make a choice. But what's really important is to go back through past stories. For many of us, food has represented a time in our lives that was safer, easier, better, more loving. And sometimes we'll make choices about food to go back to that. You know, you may have had a family where it was you had big celebrations. Maybe Christmas, you remember Christmas was always wonderful. And sometimes when you're really stressed, you're looking for food to replace that feeling. So your thoughts, your beliefs, thoughts, words, and actions are often based on past stories. So using something like EFT is incredibly important to help you release the emotional connection to those past stories. You're looking at your present actions. Okay, what are you doing right now? At this point right now, what are you doing? You have, at any given time, we have, 1,440 minutes at a day. And so every minute you're making decisions. So you're looking at your present actions. Okay, how much water did I just drink an hour ago? Can I increase that right now? I think right now I'm going to have an apple instead of the muffin. Present action. And release that future thinking. All right, we've got one more to go. How are we going for time? Oh, we're almost right on. I just almost finished. So step number 5, excuse me, is implementation. Now, let me just say this. This is the part that I think I really toyed with this being number 1, but I thought I'll make it number 5 anyway, because we'll get rid of the other stuff first. And this is implementation: plan, prepare, pace, presence. Plan. You know, if you're going to choose to eat well and consciously, you have to make a plan. In fact, most people tell me that they make decisions about what they're going to eat based on how hungry they are right at that moment. So planning, you know, sit down, do a meal plan for the week. When you go shopping, come back, you know, chop up the carrots or the celery sticks, or make the muffins or the protein balls, or, you know, plan what you're going to eat. Have things in the fridge that are easy to grab if you're hungry, because most of us, if we're starving, we just, you know, all manner of things go out the window. Mason jar salads, brilliant to make, you know, on a Sunday, and it'll get you right through to Thursday. We've tried to stretch them to Friday. Yeah, it's pushing a little bit hard, but usually they'll last 4 days in those little mason jars. Making sure you've got boiled eggs, cans of tuna, as I mentioned, protein balls. Think ahead. So plan and prepare. Take some time each week to prepare. I've got a wonderful, wonderful client with 10 children, and they do every Sunday, they plan out what their lunches for the week. It's just, you know, incredible machinery or military operation to do it. But, you know, if she can do it I can do it for one. If you take that time, you schedule that time and say, this is what I'm going to do, then you've got your week plan. You don't even have to think about it. Especially if you're in business, you don't want to be thinking at lunchtime, what am I going to eat? For me, I know I want to be able to grab something straight away. If I have to prepare something for lunch, I'm not going to do it. Just not. I like to keep going. So prepare. The third one is pace. You know, and all my clients, can I just say this? Every single one of my clients, and if they're watching this, I know who I'm talking about, but it's everybody, tells me when I ask them, how fast do you eat? They will all tell me they inhale food like that. So pace is incredibly important. Taking at least, I like to set my clients a target to take about 20 minutes to eat, 20-minute break at lunchtime, making yourself take that 20-minute break. At dinner time, don't inhale, stop. Slow down. When you slow down, the hormones that control hunger and satiety, being full, have a chance to kick in. But if you're inhaling, eating so quickly, eating on the run, you're disconnected from that body. You're just totally disconnected. So ensuring that you slow down. And the last one, the one I'm going to leave you with, is what I call presence. And that is being present when you eat. Stop the multitasking. If you're eating, try not to eat at your desk. Oh, goodness. Try not to eat at your desk. Excuse me. Take a place and be present with the food, this beautiful food that you've prepared and bought and thought about. Be present. Before I leave, I want to share with you the masterclass that I've got coming up next week on the 11th of February. I'll put pop a link in the above or below or around here somewhere. Excuse me. I'll pop a link there, and where I'm going to be sharing with you the 10 principles to being stronger, leaner, and lighter in 2021. And I hope you will join me. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I will look forward to seeing you this time next week on the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter show, and I'm sharing with you the joys of being stronger, leaner, and lighter in 2021 and beyond. See you then.